Benny Johnson, man, I am freaked out. I am freaked out. You know, I saw the reporting of the sniper attack this morning, but we didn't exactly know what was happening. Just coming off of the Jimmy Kimmel once again refuses to apologize for the escalation of rhetoric. We are now dealing with, 3 terror attacks in 2 weeks. One of the most gruesome we've seen in our lifetime, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. I'm freaking out. I'm just, what is your take on all this?
So 3 terrorist attacks with a lot in common. And I think it's really important when somebody shows you who they are, you have to believe them. If you don't believe them, if they're telling you who they are, if the left is grabbing us by the scruff of the neck and looking at us in the face with their bloodshot eyes, with their yellow teeth, frothing at the mouth, saying, we are psychotic, murderous radicals. We are a terrorist element, and we are willing to kill because we have lost political power. We have lost our minds. And now we are a militant wing that is willing to use power to kill, our power to kill. And that is going to be the last resort for our political movement. That is, by the way, what all data shows. That is what all available data shows from YouGov. A specific YouGov poll that was just released says that 60% of leftists under the age of 40 believe that a political violence is appropriate in some circumstances. Wow. 60%. I mean, you're talking about you're talking about vast swaths of leftists, millions of them that want this. Now, in the past month, I actually just ran the numbers. It's been a month to the day since a transgender left-wing radical inscribed leftist iconography on his tactical gear, anti-Christian, anti-conservative, anti-Trump iconography, and then went and shot up a Catholic school.
Yep.
Killing a couple kids, wounding 17. Fast forward 2 weeks, Tim. A far left-wing radical with a transgender furry boyfriend writes left-wing iconography on his bullets and then goes and kills Charlie Kirk, murders him in an on-air execution in Utah. Fast forward 2 weeks. Today, a left-wing radical has inscribed left-wing iconography. This man is a communist, by the way. Jeremy Johns is his name. He's according to his social media, he's a Marxist. He has a communist iconography on his social media. He is scrawled anti-ICE messaging on his bullet casings, and then he committed murder, what he hoped to be mass murder at an ICE facility in Dallas. Now, they are telling us who they are. They're telling us through polling. They're telling us through action. They are saying that the biggest problem, the scariest domestic terrorist threat that we have seen in our lifetime in this country is left-wing militant terrorism. They are screaming it from the rooftops. It is time for Republicans to wake up and to recognize this threat.
I think what's really scary about it is it's much more aligned with the mainstream Democratic Party than anybody was willing to admit. I just made this point a moment ago. When we get these reports where it says, oh, the right is more dangerous and more the extremist attacks are coming from the right, it is not meaningful to me in any way or any in political debate when you argue a white supremacist committed some act of violence. We all agree that's bad. The Republicans all condemn it. Charlie Kirk condemned white supremacy and actually kicked white supremacists out of his events. So there's no overlap there. However, the ideology that killed Charlie Kirk, AOC espoused from the House floor. So instead of denouncing the lies and saying these people who believed false things about Charlie and were motivated to kill him, AOC goes on the House floor and doubles down on all of it. The TV producers, the shows, they double down. And then you get the Jimmy Kimmel scenario. Now, I think it's important to point out the lower end of the scale to the higher end. You've pointed out, Benny, all the high end scale stuff, these iconography, these shootings. What about the Democrat who shot up an ABC affiliate just Friday because Jimmy Kimmel was suspended over offensive comments where he lied about this shooter? What about Jimmy Kimmel today, the report coming out, or should I say last night? He still refused to apologize and doubled down, saying Trump is just trying to get me fired because he can't take a joke. This is the motivating ideology behind these attacks. It is mainstream. It's on MSNBC. It's on ABC. And I got to be honest, it's not an easy thing to deal with.
Well, Tim, the moment I saw that Jimmy Kimmel comment, I said, on behalf of Turning Point, which I work closely with, and we're going to be doing a lot of work on campuses. We go and talk to Turning Point chapters and so on. I know that you give speeches as well, college kids, and you speak at Turning Point events also. The kids love you. On behalf of these students and activists, on behalf of my fellow compatriots in the America First movement, let me say this. What Jimmy Kimmel said, of course, is factually wrong and is a despicable thing to say about somebody who was murdered by the left, to say he was murdered by the right, by his own movement. Charlie Kirk, of course, the figurehead of the MAGA movement. And so to say he was murdered by MAGA was to say he deserved it. So that is despicable in and of itself. It should have led to the immediate cancellation of his show. And then who knows, right? Defamation lawsuit by the Kirk family, whatever. That's bad enough. But what it says really, and what we were able to elucidate and what we've been constantly hitting the bricks to talk about, is that it signals that you should do more. By taking the clear left-wing violence and turning it into right-wing violence, it's projecting to leftists that you should go do more of this and we'll defend you. I, Jimmy Kimmel, will use my taxpayer-funded federal FCC licensure to whitewash leftist violence and to make sure that the right is blamed for it. And so if you go and do more of that, count on me defending you. That's what it signals to these mentally ill, militant, suicidal sociopaths on the left. And I've been warning about this. I was beating my knuckles bloody, Tim, about this. And then I went to Turning Point. I spent the last week at Turning Point. And I spoke with Turning Point's COO. I spoke with Charlie Kirk's executive producer. They both posted publicly. What Jimmy Kimmel's comments really do is put a target on the back of MAGA and on our activists. That's the true despicable nature of this. It's a continuation of not just the rhetoric, but the allowance and the approval of left-wing violence by not covering it and not disavowing it.
I think the scary reality is that we did not take enough action against the left, liberals. I don't even want to say the left. It isn't mainstream. Over the celebration of the assassination of Brian Thompson. I'm not going to sit here and defend insurance companies, but we're looking at was it 10 months after the assassination of this guy? The left celebrated the assassin. They sold merch with his name. They made sainthood candles of him. And Charlie Kirk is assassinated. I was talking to, just one last point. I was talking to Will Chamberlain yesterday. And he said, if we do not suspend and remove these people celebrating assassinations, it sends a message to these liberals that if you assassinate someone, you will be celebrated and rewarded.
Yep. Yeah. So at the height of the anti-Elon protests, right, totally AstroTurf protests in Washington, D.C., I went and we were walking the streets and saw on camera. And I was walking the street. We just filmed something at the EPA, and there happened to be a protest outside. I said, let's go talk to them. Let's go see what they're up to. And the number of people that told me that they wanted to kill Elon Musk, and they said it to my cameras, and the number of Luigi hats. Yo, Tim, there was like Luigi, like Mario Luigi, right? They were wearing Luigi hats. And I was like, this is out of control. It's like maybe in February. It's like, this is obscene. They are venerating this assassin. They just went and like killed this like dad, this father, this guy, whatever. Like, I don't care what he does. I don't care what Brian Thompson did. I don't care what evil he was accused of. It is irrelevant. You went and like committed an execution on the streets of New York. And just months later, he was being venerated by the left, and they were wearing Luigi hats. Exactly as you said.
They still do.
It's a real. It is truly it is like a beyond a political problem. It's like a spiritual problem. It is people that see death and destruction as a tool, and they are willing to kill because they see it as a means to an end. And you can't share a country with people like that, Tim. You can't unite with people like that. You can't unite with people who want to kill you, and you can't unite over a lie.
I just want to.
That is why I must call, in conclusion here, I must call that there has to be a reckoning. There has to be left-wing commentators must come out. They have to. They have to come out. You have to watch now. There has to be pressure for left-wing commentators to come out to disavow this, to talk about their own reckless rhetoric, to do the opposite of what Jimmy Kimmel did last night. This has to, because what they are doing is incitement. It is definitionally incitement. I
want to just offer up to the middle of the road people, if they even exist at this point. I'll just preface this by saying I've received messages from many, I would just say prominent individuals in various industries that are terrified over the killing of Charlie Kirk. And I'm surprised to find some of these guys are like default libs, I describe them as. I think this has really terrified people. But I offer up to these individuals two worlds you can choose to live in. When George Floyd dies, and no one knew who he was not a prominent individual, we got, according to reports, 13,609 violent incidents, which resulted in around 30 plus deaths and several $1 billion in damage. When Charlie Kirk was assassinated intentionally over his views, conservatives prayed for one day at a big event, a big festival, and carried on. If you are one of these middle of the road guys, ladies, who says, I don't care about politics, pick which country you want to live in.
Yep.
Where when the conservatives face a death, an intentional murder, you won't even notice. You'll go about your business eating at Subway and enjoying a nice bag of chips and a flatbread, and no one will bother you. But if some random person the left wants to venerate dies, they will burn down your city. We can't live like this. And the problem is that on the left, this is the mainstream practice. On the right, the mainstream practice is pray.
Bro, in the weeks, it's been like I've lost count, but let's just say roughly 2 weeks since Charlie was murdered.
2 weeks to 2 weeks to the day, yeah.
Since Charlie was murdered. Okay, so 2 weeks to the day. 0 incidents of right-wing violence. I was in a stadium, dude, with 100,000 people there. Physically, like 100,000 people physically there. Turning Point says that the total number of people that showed up were close to 250,000 people, 250,000 in the greater overall area, according to geo-tracking. Not one broken window. Not even littering. No one jaywalked. Nobody spit gum on the sidewalk.
No one jaywalked.
Everything was immaculate. Of course, there were no fists thrown. There were no cops assaulted. There were no cars burned. There were no buildings desecrated. Nobody did anything wrong. In fact, the only fear of any law enforcement official that were there, and I talked to a lot of them, was, of course, that left-wing agitators would get in and try to commit a terrorist attack.
Yep.
They didn't even, the law enforcement just naturally didn't even look to the right for any type of violence at that event. Now, that's how the rights responded. The left, let's go ahead and look at the left. Immediately after Charlie Kirk was murdered, a left-wing pederast named George Zinn put his arms up and said, I'm the shooter, to allow the shooter to get away.
Yep.
That's a matter of fact. Now, he had a bunch of CP on his on his phone, and he's like a degenerate sicko, obviously. They've now charged him with a bunch of different felonies for that. But this is the man of the left that showed up to try and help Kirk's shooter. Then in the hours after that, 2 Pakistanis who came here and immigrated here and became naturalized citizens, placed a bomb on a Fox News local affiliate van. And they tried to light it. They tried to blow up the Fox News van. Hundreds of thousands of leftists celebrated Charlie Kirk's murders. Many of them were fired. Some of them were suspended from their shows on ABC. 58 Democrats voted against disavowing violence on the House floor. Mm-hmm. Used it as an opportunity to lie about Charlie Kirk. The community known AOC is like a mile long. Yeah. And then dozens of leftists have been charged with various felonies for assault or desecration at Charlie Kirk memorials. So Republicans can't even mourn in peace without a leftist attacking them. And this is, again, when somebody shows you who they are, you got to believe them. Like it's on us actually now. The left is showing us who they are.
What really terrifies me the most is that I genuinely thought this Charlie Kirk assassination would be a wake-up call, that the system would be shocked so hard by such a dramatic escalation that your default libs would say, hey, guys, hold on there a minute. And while I will say there are many that I do know that have reached out to me, and this has made them realize, what terrifies me the most is when I went on my Facebook, which I don't really use anymore, but I've got a lot of friends going back decades, they're all saying Charlie deserved it. And when I messaged them saying, first and foremost, we need to bring the temperature down. Like, guys, come on. No one deserves this. We're not going that direction. They ignore me. People, I'm not even kidding. People that I've known for decades, for years, are posting videos saying that Charlie deserved it because he was a bigot. And I cannot believe the people I have seen who are, I'm talking about people who are not in politics. I'm talking about people who just live in the city and are default run-of-the-mill libs, but they really don't pay attention. And they're posting and reposting videos saying that Charlie deserved it, or they are lying about what Charlie said to justify this.
Yes.
That has me terrified because like you mentioned, you can't share a country with these people. Then I don't know where we go.
Well, now's the time for Tim Pool to do the meme and say Civil War. That's the time.
Well, it's
Can we
been
hit the button?
everyone else saying it but me.
We allowed to can we hit the button? Can we hit the Tim Pool Civil War button? Like the easy button at Staples? Boom, Civil War. I'm going to make one of those, Tim. I'm going to make a fortune selling Tim Pool Civil War.
It's just like it's a beanie button. When you press it, it's me saying Civil War. Well, let me put it like this. I had been in November.
Gallows humor. I'm not trying to make fun of this. I'm like,
no, I know.
It's just gallows humor. Sometimes you just
levity is good.
Laugh or cry. No, I mean, you got to declare a national emergency, Tim. I'm calling on the Trump administration, of whom I sat next to the entire cabinet at Charlie Kirk's memorial service. I'm calling on all of them, as I did in my speech, to do what is biblically necessary and constituted in a moral society, which is for the government, according to Romans 13, that is properly instituted by God, to wield the sword and not wield it in vain, to wield the sword for the terror of evil men. It is the only solution. The only solution is that the left must be ruthlessly cracked down upon. There must be societal pressure, both culturally and through judicial means and through law enforcement means, but from the whole of government approach. I have left-wing violence. It must be serious. It must be the only talking point. It is the single most existential threat our country faces right now. We cannot go on like this with every single day there being a new spate of left-wing violence and more blood flowing through the streets.
But you know what the problem is? Look, Jimmy Kimmel couldn't say the words "I'm sorry," and I don't understand why. Well, actually, to be fair, I do. Did you see the reporting that his staff threatened to walk out and quit the show if he said he apologizes?
Well, there you go. There's your terror. There's ISIS, right? There's your terror threatening. Yeah.
You can't just say, "I'm sorry, I was wrong about that." That was embarrassing.
Bro, if he was sorry, you're in this business. I'm in this business. Okay, we're both in broadcast business. You get a lot more views than Jimmy Kimmel. So do I. So
that's funny.
Let's a photo, Tim, a photo of your beanie, posted on Snapchat would do more views than Jimmy Kimmel's show. Jimmy Kimmel's show did less views than Chris Christie's OnlyFans. A live stream of Joe Biden sleeping at the beach on Blue Sky would do more views than Jimmy Kimmel's show.
Yeah.
So you and I both know this business, and we know it probably better than Jimmy Kimmel. But let's just be perfectly honest. If Jimmy Kimmel wanted to apologize, as I've had to apologize for things, I got things wrong. I've gotten facts wrong. I've gotten things wrong on the show. I've reported things, right, because it was breaking news environment. Didn't turn out to be true, or turned out to be something different. You apologize. And I have no problem doing that. I often tell my audience, we're going to try to be first. We're going to be fast. And we're going to be as accurate as we possibly can. We will absolutely admit our mistakes. I do not claim to be some type of perfect vessel. Okay, we do make mistakes. If Jimmy Kimmel was sorry, he would have come out the night afterwards and apologized. And Disney would have said, great.
Yep.
Because Disney asked him, what are you going to do? If he was actually sorry, Tim, he would have just done it the next day. My bad, man. That joke did not land. My bad. I'm sorry to the Kirk family. Not good. That's what he should have said. But he wasn't sorry. In fact, he went to Disney and said, I'm not going to apologize. I'm going to triple down against MAGA.
Yep.
That's what Disney said.
And he did.
You're done.
And he did. It's exactly what he did. Now,
and he's not apologizing to this day. So he's not actually sorry, Tim.
So I'll give you my assessment. And this is what I've been saying since the story broke. The principal reason for the cancellation, according to the Wall Street Journal and the Hollywood Reporter, was, as you mentioned, Jimmy Kimmel was not planning on apologizing or backing down. And advertisers and affiliates had expressed concern over the comments, with Sinclair explicitly stating the temperature, that the heat. And Wall Street Journal says that Disney was concerned for the safety of their staff following threats they'd received. While the FCC certainly played some degree of a role, it seems that the real issue was that Jimmy Kimmel had shocked advertisers in the audience. Now, guess what? Last night, I went on all of my streaming services, and I didn't know this. It's not broadcast rights. It's all rights. So Sinclair actually owns the streaming rights to ABC content. I, in the DC area, cannot watch Jimmy Kimmel Live right now. So I had to wait for someone in some other area to share it with me so I could watch it. Now, my question is, if the affiliates are still mad, if the advertisers are still mad, they have still preempted his show, what is the real reason ABC brought Jimmy Kimmel back where he did not apologize and did, in fact, triple down? There's only one thing I see, and you know what that is? A terror attack on the ABC station in Sacramento and several local ABC affiliates receiving terror threats. Yep. That was the only change. I genuinely believe ABC, when they were looking at Christian MAGA guys are going to pray and they don't riot, I don't fear them. The far left just shot, liberals, not even the far left, just shot up an affiliate and threatened more. They know who they actually fear. We cannot tolerate terrorism dictating our politics.
You know, isn't that a wild thing? Like, we are the aggrieved party. We lost a generational leader. I know you know Charlie.
Of course.
You had a mural of Charlie in your studio. Like, in your old studio, you had like a hand drawing of Charlie. It was like really cool. You've hosted some Charlie debates on your show. And, you and Charlie were friends.
I texted him a week before this, bro. I don't want to act like we were best friends or drinking buddies. I always say that. But he was a friend of mine.
Well, he didn't drink, so he's no good as a drinking buddy anyhow.
Right.
Yeah, unless you had green tea. Hey, man, if you like green tea, he will be your drinking buddy.
Yeah.
But what I'm establishing here is that what happened with Charlie and what's happening now with Jimmy Kimmel is a clear and obvious targeting of people in MAGA, people in America First, by the corporate media. They did it last night. Now, let me explain. Tim Walz, big-time governor, just ran for vice president. Gavin Newsom, going to run for president in 2028. We're out over the last 24 hours calling ICE the Gestapo. They were calling ICE tyrannical dictator and authoritarian agencies. This was just in the past 24 hours. They haven't toned down the temperature at all. They've, in fact, used this opportunity to ratchet up the temperature.
Yep. And
now we have an ICE shooting and killing. There are a bunch of people in critical condition. I think we know of one death. Is that correct? And then a bunch of people in critical condition.
Yep.
At what point do you need to actually talk about incitement? Because they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with their side. To your point, and this is the final point I'll make. To your point about the aggrieved parties, Charlie Kirk would have been president. He was on our side. He was our boy. He was a generational leader. He was the voice of MAGA. He had the most followers of anybody in his demographic. Okay. And you and I both play in this world, and Charlie was just doing incredible work.
Amazing.
Charlie Kirk's death we are the victims. We are the aggrieved party. And we have not committed violence. In the wake of Charlie Kirk's death by a leftist, it's the left that's committed all the violence. Nobody was scared about a right-winger shooting up an ABC station because we don't do that, Tim. We don't do that shit, Tim. A right-winger doesn't go and shoot up ABC because Jimmy Kimmel said something obscene and defamatory and disgusting about Charlie. Even though the right is the aggrieved party in the situation. We are the victim of that, right? It is the left that has decided to use this as an opportunity for further violence.
I want to ask you, Benny. You saw what Keith Olbermann said yesterday about Scott Jennings?
Yeah.
You're next, mother effer. And he tried playing it off like, no, I meant his career. And my question was, why did a conservative lose their job in the past 2 weeks? How would he be next if there's not a first? No, we know what he meant. And I'll tell you, because I want to ask you about this. Maybe you don't want to answer. The amount of death threats I've received inhibited my ability to travel to Arizona because our security team was too concerned they would not be able to secure me and my wife. And so I decided such a trip probably was just too dangerous to make. It was a coin toss I didn't want to make. And I know a lot of people went and it was a very safe and it went off without a hitch. But the threats we've got and the swattings we received, and there are some other security instances I don't talk about that have occurred here recently because I don't want to expose how these are affecting us as other people may be emboldened by it. But you're next. I know you posted that video recently of the fire at your own home, And the corporate press tried lying, saying it never happened. But I'm curious what you've been experiencing following this.
I mean, like you can just go ahead and check Blue Sky, right? It's all public. It's all public. And there needs to be a law enforcement and judicial example set here.
I agree.
And it's time for Republicans to understand what time it is. We won't have a party left. And, it's like, listen, I'm a Christian, so God is the author of life and death. I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to hide under a rock, right? I'm just going to go live in a cave. I'm not going to be dumb, though. We're going to be smart, and we're going to I mean, it's important to obviously carry on the work in our own small and in our own small ways of what Charlie was doing. To let him down in that scenario, or to be scared when he was never scared, I think would be an insult to his memory. However, the answer to your question is that what happens when the world of the left wing, because you got to understand, they don't live in our world. They live in a totally and complete alternate reality where Charlie Kirk's killer was a MAGA assassin. That's where they live. They refuse to accept.
Polling shows it.
Yeah, they refuse to accept reality. They are not living in our world. And so what must be done? They must be brought to heel. You have to then force reality upon them. And that's something that's going to need to happen from a judicial and legal perspective.
Yep.
Never once have I ever called for violence. I never will. You can't find it. I broadcast. There's 100,000 hours of me broadcasting live. Not once, not one single time have I ever even remotely touched that line. But there are ways. There is a law, and there is laws on the books. You are not allowed to do death threats. You are not allowed to call for people's killings. This must be. There has to be entire departments created in order to prevent this from happening. And I don't want it to happen on the right either. Death threats against public officials are wrong, right, and against anybody. But it's coming from the left, right? So it's coming from the left. It needs to be dealt with as this severe national security threat that it is.
I think Keith Olbermann should be charged. And yes. My argument is, look, they show up to his house in the afternoon. They don't cuff him. They say, it's just, we're going to the station to be processed. You're going to get a light charge, which is he takes a plea bargain, gets 20 hours of community service, and a don't do it again. And the reason I say that for Keith Olbermann is because people like him are being swept up in the tsunami of all of this insanity. Now, for the more serious terroristic threats, by all means, they should get prison time. But I think that if we start with a light approach and say, Keith, you sent a death threat, okay? You got to go to court for this. You're going to be arrested. That message to all of these default libs is stop making threats. Just stop. And if it escalates from there, then we lock them up for a longer amount of time.
But they live in this alternate reality where, like, Jimmy Kimmel's out. He doesn't have to apologize.
Right.
Jimmy Kimmel called Charlie Kirk's killer MAGA. Mm-hmm. And he got away with it. And he's getting away with it.
We'll see.
And it's like, and he didn't correct the record, Tim. He didn't do what I would do or what you would do. I've seen you do this like dozens of times. Hey, yo, the guy, we said he had a red shirt on. Turns out he had a blue shirt on. We're correcting the record. Good. Okay. He didn't correct the record.
Did you know, Benny, that the reason Sinclair pulled the Charlie Kirk Memorial was because of leftist terror threats on their stations?
Isn't that amazing? And we are the aggrieved party, right? Like it's like they're using this as a tool. Now they see it as a tool.
We wanted a memorial for a man who was murdered, and Sinclair pulled it. This is New York Post reporting because their affiliate stations received death threats. A memorial for a man who was murdered could not be aired. I don't know how we live this way, man. It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
It's a broken society. It's society. It's like, it really is interesting. It's like clairvoyant. Who was it that posted it? Maybe it was Matt Walsh, but he posted early in the summer. He's like, listen, they've lost. He's talking about the trans movement, but he was, I think, the left writ large. They've been decimated in cultural power, in institutional power, in regulatory power that they love so very much. And cultural power is propped up by institutional power, which is propped up by regulatory power, right? So if they lose all of them, then they literally a paper tiger. They have nothing. They have nothing. It's bluster. And that's what Jimmy Kimmel. That's why they were so horrified of Jimmy Kimmel, because what happens is we reached deep behind enemy lines into the dark, diseased church, of the Temple of Hollywood, and we were able to like, punish a high priest, like who should be untouchable. And we were able to like exercise righteous indignation against somebody who was like lying in a area that we should never be able to touch them, right? And that's because they've lost all these layers of power, cultural, institutional, and regulatory.
So they shot up an ABC station.
That's right. And so like when you have no more power, then what is the final, when you've lost the argument, what's the final then approach? Violence. That's it. You're right. Cut out their tongue.
Brother.
And so that's where they are. It's time for Republicans to wake up.
I hope you stay safe out there. I hope you take this as seriously as we are, because I know they've been targeting you. I don't like to name other commentators who are getting this stuff because I don't want to draw attention. But I know we've already discussed it. But there are lists out there that they are posting like crazy. So stay safe, man. Where can people find you?
Oh, at Benny Johnson on just about everything except for Blue Sky.
Except for Blue Sky.
I should probably start one though, shouldn't I?
I tried. They wouldn't let me.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll post these clips, Tim, and I'm sure it'll go great.
Brother, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your time, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, man. Fight for Charlie.
Have a good one, brother.